Jay Baba. So, because Peter and I are young, we want to try out a new way of doing the late night chat, which really is just code for, I forgot to hit send and it got saved in my drafts, the email for this week. So, but Peter and I talked about it. We actually think that it could be really fun to have a spontaneous topic and not give you guys time to think about it and curate your answers, which I know Mr. Tony likes to write out paragraphs beforehand. So the artist in him will just have to be improv tonight. And Peter's really good at improv anyway.
I am. Thank you, Margie.
So the topic that I had in mind was love with a capital L versus love with a lowercase l. And something that I think we all hit in life is that we don't really know what love is. And we might have ideas of love and we do our best. And then all of a sudden Baba destroys it or shakes things up or shows us that we actually had really selfish kind of motivated gain in something. And I guess I wanted to open the conversation to, number one, has it ever happened to you? You know, have you ever been in a relationship where you thought you loved this person so much and then Baba takes it away, and in hindsight you realize that maybe it was more codependency or it was not as loving as you thought, and then you had to learn what love really is. And I'm going through something like that in my life where I'm seeing that just because something isn't what you think love is doesn't mean that the love doesn't keep growing. And also when you're in relationships with people, I'm not just talking about romantic, I'm talking about friendship too, but a lot of times space allows for more love to be there. I mean, I know the saying like boundaries are what boundaries are what allow space for people to love each other. And sometimes when we get too involved, we can't really love with the capital L. We just go for the lowercase l. And so that's the topic that I wrote the email about and that didn't get sent out. But I want to open the floor and see if this strikes anything in anyone, or anyone has something they want to share right off the bat. I think this is probably a Marian topic. This is something that she's probably worked with a lot.
I wanted to hold back, but I can say something.
Yeah.
Very brief, because this is a big issue with me, because having had a lot of codependent qualities where I was always looking for love from somebody to love me. And I'd always pick the wrong person. So it always turned into a disaster. So I learned through all of those disasters that love is not an emotion. Love is an energy. Like in Baba's Knowledge, Power, Bliss, three attributes. Bliss is the highest form of love. It's an energy, it's a power. It's not an emotion. So I learned when things like I love chocolate or I love pumpkin pie or something, to use other expressions for that and not just let that word come out of me and use it just loosely, because I might say, oh, I appreciate having a piece of pumpkin pie. It's so good. And I just am wild about it, finding some other expression other than I love it, which is an easy way to go. And then it was a wonderful teacher taught me that the highest form of love is right action. Not maybe, there's maybe a right action. I may not want to do it, but the guidance has been, and it's not a want, because Baba said, I never ever fulfill your wants, but I fulfill every real need. But I need to know my wants before I can let go of my wants. You can't let go of what's not in front of you. And so I've learned to use that word love I notice when I'm using it very loosely. And then I've learned to connect to it more with the heart. Because as Baba said, we're here to balance the head and the heart, with the heart leading the way. That's intuition, and that is God. And of course, God is love. And so I have to use my tuition that when I use that word love or think it, to really ask what my intention is. It's my intention to get something that I don't have and try to get it from somewhere? Or am I connected to an action, a right action that I need to take, whether I feel like I want to or not? So I'll end with that. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful, Marian. I think also you said something really important there that I think that we could elaborate on is, Baba, he fulfills every one of our needs, but none of our wants. And so really, I think our job here is to get our wants in line with our needs,
Yes.
right?
It's use them as a gateway. Don't get rid of the wants, but the want, the energy of the want, energetically opens the heart. And then it's a gateway, as you say, to connect with the real need. So it's like not throwing away the want, but not taking the want as a real need, but use it as a gateway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. No, I think that's really, really well said. And then also, Baba loves us. There's no doubt. I think everybody on this chat can agree. Baba loves us. And sometimes Baba he does some pretty tough stuff to us. He does give us moments of bliss and, that kind of happiness, yeah, bliss feeling. But when Baba does the mean stuff, is that not love? Right. And so I think often we get the Disney idea of love because it's natural. We're human, we kind of receive what's around us and we idealize what love is. And then when it's hard or it challenges us, we are like, well, that's not love. And then Baba has to actually come in and show us what real love is. Love, um, I think it was, I forget who said this, but they were talking about Baba and saying that, mercy comes in and will stop you from having to suffer, right? It'll come in, if you're on the side of the street and you have no money, mercy comes in and gives the beggar some food, gives them a place to stay. Compassion lets them sit there and suffer. And that I think is such a beautiful analogy because Baba, of course, I think he always comes through. Baba's kind of like in case of emergency, press this button, right? He lets us, it's like, all right, you've suffered enough. Let me give you a little out here. But no, really, really beautifully said, Marianne. Or also something else that you said that brought up something for me is Biff told me that Erich told him that if you give love with any intention of wanting something back, it is an insult to love itself. And yeah.
Do you mind repeating that one, dude?
Yeah. So if you give love with the intention of receiving something back, it is an insult to love itself.
Yes, I'll just comment on that. All expectations lead to disappointment and pain.
Yeah.
So I have to look at where I am expecting something back, which is different than a real need for companionship or mutuality, and those experiences. Those are real needs. But
Yeah.
expectation from getting something where I may not be getting it and demanding that is leads to disappointment and pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully said. And we really don't need love. We have love. I think we get this idea that, the child in us needs love, right? Our different versions of ourself, our inner critic or our higher self or all this. But yeah, we need all these things. But in reality, we don't need love from any human. We have Baba. The thing we need in people is, support or company or kindness. We can need all of those things from people, but we don't need love. And as soon as we start looking for love outside of our relationship with him, that's really when we get into trouble. And then he's like, okay, turn your nose back around to me. You've gone the wrong way. Does anybody else have anything that they want to jump out with? Or is this going to be a night where I have to call on people and force it out of you? All right, looks like it is. Peter, what do you have to say about this?
Good question. Okay, so
You're an improv king.
so off the top, okay, so improv it here. What comes to mind off the top of my head? Like I think we think we know what love is, and like it's our perception of love. But movies and social media and TV make love like a whole different thing from what like maybe the higher value of like Baba's love, like self love is. Because like when I think of love, like I love music, I love sports, I love fun, I love like of course like I love being with friends, I love like doing things. Um, of course, and then there's that romantic type of love where I love different people in my life. And it's yeah, it could be definitely painful sometimes, and I think maybe when there's pain we do grow as well, like and I guess we have different lessons in life that we have to learn or whatnot, like karmic or Sanskara lessons or but yeah, that's what comes to mind off the top of my head when I think of like big love, little love.
Beautiful. Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Something else that just came to mind is someone told me, I forget who it was. It was someone who lived in, like, one of the close ones who lived in Myrtle Beach. So I want to say like maybe Fred and Ella or Darwin Shaw, someone like that. When Pete Towson came to Myrtle Beach, he was going through a divorce, and they were asking him, Jeff told me the story, something along the lines of like, well, do you still love her? And he basically said something like, yeah, but that's not enough. And what I want to say it was Darwin, I'm pretty sure it was Darwin, said to him, if there's any glimmer of love, that there's always a possibility to restore something. Because love is so, if there was ever love in a relationship, I'm paraphrasing, but if there's ever love in a relationship, that's all you need. Anything can be rekindled, and not necessarily, the relationship back together, but you can love that person. You can take yourself into the next phase of the relationship, because that love ties you together forever. And kind of like what I said in the beginning, I think when we really learn what love is, we're able to allow people to continue on their journey, knowing that Baba's going to take way better care of them than we are. And that love can grow inwardly, even more so. The wanting to own them, whether it's a friend or a child or a parent, that's not love. We just think it is. I think we also do that with our relationship with Baba. We have an idea of what loving Baba looks like, and then Baba will kind of destroy that, and they'll be like, no, stop getting caught up on what you think loving me is, and just love me, bring me into everything. Someone was talking to Mara about giving Baba or bringing flowers to Samadhi, and Mara was like, it doesn't matter what flower you bring Baba, he just wants the love with the flower. He doesn't want the flower. All he wants is the love. Okay, Miss Diane and Terry. I'm gonna call you guys Terry Ann. That's your couple name.
That sounds like such a nice Midwestern name.
We could call you Diary. That's a little bit less.
It sounds like dysentery.
Yeah.
But you keep thinking along those lines. I encourage that. This Bal Natu quote was read at a meeting I was at last night, and I loved it so much I got on my knees and asked her to send it to me, and she did. And I think it might be a little appropriate here. If one is blessed with the privilege of entering into the lane leading to the avatar, one should regard this as a stroke of priceless good fortune. Sooner or later, one's journey in this lane begets an inner divine intoxication. From this intoxication comes a madness which grows and grows as the remembrance of the avatar becomes more and more wholehearted. There is no going back. This blessed lane, once it has been entered, has no exit. Love awakened by Baba never dies.
Wow.
So that's been going through my all day long. I've been thinking about this, and I've read it a couple times. And then what is your spontaneous subject is about love, and what is love? And I like Peter's little love and big love. I think there might, like kind of Goldilocks, there might need to be a middle one too. Because I don't know that I want to stop saying, oh, I love ice cream. But it's not the same love I have for Terry.
Thank you, honey.
Terry Ann.
Terry Ann.
Do you want to say something?
I don't think so. I'm listening.
But I do feel that Baba has opened up my heart in a way I've never, ever felt in my life. And it's been life-changing for me, because I know what love is like between two human beings, but this feels very, very different, and it affects everything.
So what does it feel like?
I think I want to say bliss. when I let myself have it and I don't get in my way or get into my radio KMS. And, people talk about, we were talking about going to spiritual places like India or Myrtle Beach, and you get that glow. And, how can it, the honeymoon thing again that you have over and over again, or going to a Sahavas. Somebody told me today I still have the Sahavas glow from 2 weeks ago. But I think that glow is that I'm really open. And I'm living in the openness instead of the half openness.
Or the little.
Or the little love, as one so aptly named it tonight. You want to say that?
I just stay in the love. And when I don't, I get aggravated. Like we had a friend who passed away this last week, and we went to the funeral on Monday. And I was just watching his wife. They had and 2 teenage daughters. And there was so much love between them that even though he was gone, I knew they were going to be okay. It was just a very loving family. I don't know. I feel it. I see it. And I try to stay there. I'm not great. I'm not perfect. But I don't know. Some of
You're
it.
pretty close to perfect.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Beautiful. But you guys are a really good example of love. Well, I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows if it's real love or not?
Well, who decides?
Baba.
Yeah.
He's kept us together for 35 years. I think he's decided that this might be a good situation.
This might be a good match.
Yeah.
I think I agree with the big guy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, guys. But also, talking about the little love versus the big love, I think a lot of times the little love gets in the way of the big love. I'll share some of my own personal experience right now, but I just got out of a very serious relationship about 6 months ago, and I'm unpacking you go through your period of being angry and being sad, missing the person, and then you finally get to acceptance and you start to realize the role you played and really how you showed up, and it's really not about the other person anymore. And so that's kind of the point that I'm at. And I'm seeing how all the ways that I thought I loved him so much actually limited the capital love from happening, right? We do so much, like whether it's, I don't know, make them dinner or rub their feet or something, but then you realize it's so hard for us to get our egos out of the little love, right? And only the big love, which we don't even really know what it is, right? It doesn't exist with that. I think the little love, kind of always what Jeff says about, being good. The little love really wants to be good. It really wants to do the things that make us feel like we are loving someone. And the big love, capital love, doesn't care. It just spontaneously is prompted to do something, does it, and then doesn't expect love in return, or love in return, because that I think I'm gonna butcher the quote. Maybe Jeff can correct me, but he's shoving. Was that oatmeal, Jeff, or ice cream? You eating ice cream? But you're on mute. But I know you're eating ice cream. It's okay. He's eating yesterday's doll. Love. It's God. What is it? It's like love.
I got the quote. When one truly loves, one does not need to have that love reciprocated because one is already experiencing fulfillment.
Yeah.
I got a walkie-talkie message.
He's got ice cream that's melting. Okay, we have Shri.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Peter. Sorry.
I was gonna say we have Shri. Welcome, Shri.
Hi, everyone. Margie, were you still talking? Because please finish your.
No. I was just giving Jeff grief. You're good. I'd rather hear
was
what you have to
gonna-
say.
I was gonna say, I really like that quote because it was about what I was gonna share just now. And I joined a bit late, so I don't know if people talked about this already, but I do find that since finding Baba, and I had always believed in God, but I don't think I fully knew what God meant to me. And I still think I don't do. I think that's a process that you're always going to go through throughout life, but I do have a more clear vision of what God means to me now after finding Baba. But I will say the one big difference I've noticed in my life is I feel like I no longer feel as much a need to be loved. And granted, I'm very grateful to have people in my life that love me very much. So, but it's not something that I am as desperately looking for anymore, if that makes sense. And now more so when, especially after, I think Baba really made it clear to me that he is truly in every single being, whether it's a human or a flower or a chipmunk that you see on the side of the road. And now I just have a lot more like outpouring of affection, especially when I'm like sitting in the park and I just like see people walking together or like see a little family playing together or like someone walking on their own. And I'm just like, wow, at the end of the day, like that person is Baba and I do love them even if I don't know them, if that makes sense. I don't know, I sound crazy, but I see some nodding heads, so hopefully that's resonating. And I've realized that inner like warmth that I feel when I have that realization of love for people that I don't know, is so, it's just beautiful. And I also don't think I had ever felt true unconditional love from someone the way that I felt when I went to the Samadhi last summer. And to me, that's an experience I'll never forget. And I can't wait to go back. And it's not even about that though. It's because I know that love and that warmth can be accessed from anywhere in the world, or feeling Baba's love and warmth. It's just easier to do that in Mehrabad or the center at Myrtle Beach. But I don't think I had ever felt anything like it before. And I think I've talked about this, but when I went there, and you kind of like walk into the Samadhi room, where his tombstone is, I just started crying. And for a really long time, I didn't know what it was, or I didn't know why I was crying, but I think it was because I had never felt that kind of warmth or protection in my life. And again, like I have parents who love me dearly and I love my brother and all that, but it was a different kind of like deeper universal love, if that makes sense. And for me, I think since experiencing that, I've been able to give a lot more love back to people because I think it's created a lot of space within me internally, and where my life is no longer just, it's me against the world, but it's more so now I'm a part of this world and this world is a part of me. And we're more so one unit that feeds off of each other. And therefore, for this one unit, then I should have love for everything in this unit, the same way that everything in this unit has love for me.
Mm.
I'll stop now.
Wow, beautiful.
Beautifully said.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
really.
Thanks, Jeff.
Here.
Really, really special. You know, we were just, Jeff, Elisa, Genevieve, and I just had a meeting, and we were just talking about how open your heart is and how everybody feels how open your heart is. There's no filter on it. And when you stop trying to receive that love and figuring out where you're going to get your next hit of the lowercase love, not the capital love, that's really when it just flows freely, because there's no like give or take. It's like circular. You're just in this circle of love being shared everywhere. So yeah, really beautiful. All right, looks like
Gail. Good evening, Gail. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes, and can you start my video? It says the host has to. I may have I've stopped it on my own when I was host.
Absolutely, yes.
Peckles
you
Peter
have
is
to
getting
click
his
yes.
money's worth today.
There we go.
Right, there you go. All right.
There we go. When I think of this topic, I think of how much love and support I feel from Baba. I've been in Al-Anon. I grew up in an alcoholic home, so I've been in a long, long time. And a lot of people will ask me about God. And, do you feel like God loves you? Do you feel God's personal? Oh, yes. And I do feel very, very cared for in a different way than I do have people who care for me. Very fortunate in that way, but it's on a whole another level, as my kids used to say, that Baba just shows up all the time and just hardly, when I'm paying attention, I see it, and when I'm not paying attention, it's still there. I don't feel articulate about it, but I do feel Baba's presence, and I know it's him. It's not me. I'm not such, say, a lucky person. It's not like being lucky. It's being thought about, and I feel that Baba's just very, very lovingly present. And Baba shows up and in such a way that, people, we disappoint ourselves and we disappoint others, but Baba doesn't disappoint. So that's what I've got to say about Baba's love.
Beautiful. Thanks, Gail. Yeah. You can't disappoint. Whenever we're disappointed, it's because, like what Marianne said, we've got expectation. Yeah, we think we should be loved by Baba a certain way, and he's not doing it right. So yeah, really beautiful. Something
or maybe we set our perceptions like out of reach or out of focus per se.
Yeah, really well said. I was talking to Adrienne Shamson. Her and I will get into these like really long philosophical conversations, and she just stopped, and it was like a palpable silence, and she just said, God is not codependent. And when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, I try to make God codependent all the time. I'm like, oh, I'll just wait until Baba tells me what I should do and sit around and idealize Baba. And it's like, no, think about Baba, but do your best and trust that he's going to come in when he needs to. He's not like sitting around waiting for you to make a mistake. He already knows what's happening. He's living his divine life through you. He's not going like, oh, I'm not God because Margi didn't think about me today, And it was just, it was a really good, beautiful way to frame Baba. Yeah, God's not codependent.
I love your Baba voice, Margi. That's awesome. Okay, next week we're all going to do our Baba voices. Think about it. And if Baba would have spoke, what would he have sounded like? Love you. Awesome.
Oh, that would be a good improv skit for New Year's or something. You, Richie Bloom, and Brian West just guessing Baba's voice.
That would be hilarious.
Definitely have to give that to Matt Talbot.
Yeah.
Matt's coming to Myrtle Beach this Sunday, by the way.
Oh, great.
Yep. All right, Tony.
Hi. I don't prepare notes and write things up. But I do take notes when people are talking because it's like I want to jump in and say something about it, and I save all my little notes and then so what I do have is a song, and it's sort of one of my answers to the question that's being discussed. And if I disappeared from the screen, I was desperately trying to find the lyrics. It's called The Flame. What is love? Effortless remembrance, impossible of forgetfulness. A two-edged sword that simple line. For while one leads to blissful heights, the other leaves a bloody mess. If one should attempt to deny, ignore the place of grace called love. What is love? That which remains the open secret of all lives. The flame we hide or keep contained in social rituals, righteous anger, in lust that is aimed at just forgetting all of the heights the soul can know. In the place of grace called love. What is love? A relentless master. What is love? Yet a perfect servant too. What is love? Depending on which one is reacting. What is love? Desperate ego or the real you? The heavens rejoice while the little self cries, and heaven is simply the heart of you in the place of grace called love. What is love? The flame that burns and leaves the field of body wet with dew of tears, a lovely sight, unless you are the sky that weeps for the very loveliness itself becomes a reminder that heaven is held to in the place of grace called love. What is love? A relentless master. What is love? Yet a perfect servant too. What is love? Depending on which one is responding. What is love? Desperate ego or the real you? The heavens rejoice while the little self cries, and heaven is simply the heart of you in the place of grace called love. Bow, 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 bow. What is love? Well, what it's not is this or any play of words. An insult really to the flame, if it could be insult in any way. For love is simply the light and heat which words like this would seek to tame. and unsuccessfully at that. In the place of grace, the place of grace, the place of grace called love. The place of grace, the place of grace, the place of grace called love.
Wow, that's beautiful, Tony.
Jai Baba.
Jay Baba. Thank you so much. The line that really just stuck out is love is the relentless master, or something along those lines. And that is so true.
And a perfect servant too.
So beautiful. Wow. Thank you for seeing that. I think that's my favorite now. It's my new favorite. Yeah. Really beautiful.
I've written so many that I forget them and I have to go searching for the words.
So what was the inspiration when you wrote that song? Did something happen in your life?
Oh, something's always been happening in my life. That was a moment of integrating a lot of it, integrating it and coming up with something that put things into perspective, I guess. I've certainly had intense experiences of love, still do, but of different types, and the type that's a flame that's just so all-consuming. But love, if I would answer now, I would say it's the first line. Well, no. The line is, what is love? Effortless remembrance, impossible of forgetfulness. But I would say love is self-forgetfulness in another person. Could be a lover, a friend, a stranger, a child, a daughter, or, you know, it's when you forget yourself in the other. I was telling someone about, I thought I was going to die this last week. I seem to have come through whatever it was. But I shared with someone that I was really concerned about my daughter, who has not spoken to me for 2 years. And I thought, you know, if I die now, this is going to be really difficult for her. And the friend commented, what's interesting to me is that you're thinking about her and how it's going to affect her and that's love. You know, it's not, the passion is passion, and passion's great, but it's not love. Desire is great, but it's not love. Affection. Kenmore quoted Baba as saying that when you love and get something in return, it's not love but affection. Not quite an insult, which I don't think you can insult love, you know. But anyway, yeah.
Beautiful.
What comes to mind also, like, I was just thinking when you were saying, Tony, like, love is also like timeless. Like, people wrote about love or sang about love like way before like we were like all living, like all these like poets like Kabir and like Rumi and like Hafez, like they all wrote about love, and like people sang about love for ages, and like love is like it is also universal. It has no real language barrier per se, or yeah, that's what comes to mind also.
Yeah,
Ralph
thanks.
Jackson, you're on mute. You want to click unmute? Try it again there.
Since
There you go.
since Margie first gave her introduction kickoff to tonight's meeting, I've been looking for this message. I finally found it, and it was one of, or if not Baba's last message to send out to his lovers by at large, I think. It was dated July 26, 1969, and Baba said that this was his birthday message for his upcoming birthday. February 25th, 1970. So the message was, to love me for anything I might give you is not loving me at all. To sacrifice anything in my cause to gain something for yourself is like a blind man sacrificing his eyes for sight. I am the divine beloved, worthy of being loved because I am love. He who loves me because of this will be blessed with unlimited sight and will see me as I am. That was the message, Baba's birthday message for 1970.
Can I jump in on that for just a sec? Because I remember that well, but the ending was different, where Baba says, uh, to sacrifice anything in my cause to gain something for yourself is like a blind man sacrificing his eyes for sight. And the next line, as I recall it, a blind man needs a staff in his hand. The seeker needs his hand in God-man's. That was then another. That's from another thing, which I guess they.
A different message, yes, but
Yeah.
right, yeah,
You're right, Tony, yeah.
yeah,
Thanks for reading that.
it works, I think.
Yeah, so we're told. It does work.
Maybe I'll just say just one little aspect. I kind of missed the topic, but I got the capital love and the little small love. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing that that has been helpful in my life is to love others for Baba's sake. Not just loving others, but it's for Baba that you love others, so that it brings it all under Baba. Not loving others for me or loving them for them, but loving them for Baba's sake. So it keeps it all under one umbrella, so to speak. Let's see, was there anyway, that's something that occurs to me.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Terry and Diane.
You know, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I said that when I first had Hana, for instance, or when I've always woken up every morning and I say, I want to be the best I can be, whatever it is, whether it's at my work or parenting or being Diane's partner or the mother of the pooches, whatever it is, I try to do my best. And I made a lot of mistakes, but you don't know till you know. But what I can say about consciously knowing Baba, that's changed all of that, is I do the same things, but there's love behind it now. And it's enhanced everything else that I do. It's even made the mistakes a little bit better.
Yeah.
When you come with love. And I don't know, Jeff came on the screen and, for us, we just sit there smiling because we just feel it, whether we see him or we don't see him. But when we see him, when we see the faces, I can't even explain what comes out of me. You can't see it, but I can feel it, and it's not just a feeling or an emotion. It's really a way of being. I really believe that you choose to be that way. And you can be angry and pissed off and all negative and all those other things. But once you learn through Baba how to do things in a different light, it's just better. I don't know if I'm making sense either, but
You are,
Well,
Terry.
it
You
was
are.
about doing and being, so.
yeah.
No,
I don't
you
know. to me, I've always said that I'm a little bit like mushy and corny, but for years I was severely depressed and had severe eating disorders, and I would go to therapy and I would say, I know in my head that people love me, but I can't feel it. When will I feel it? And now I feel it in such a profound way that it
Wow.
takes my breath away.
Beautiful.
Jeff, did the Mandalay talk about love?
Yeah, let's see. Here's one aspect of love from Erich. I had a very difficult time with Jane Haynes, who was the director here at the center. And I was going to have to speak my mind at some point. And I wrestled with that for years. And I knew that if I spoke up, it could be the end of my job. And so I was in a dilemma, so as I was leaving India, and just right there as we're getting in a bus leaving Merzad, I just brought it up quickly with Erich. And he said, you have to win her respect. Now, I was helping her out and serving and everything like that. It wasn't like I was sabotaging what you're doing. I was, I wasn't being contrary, or like I say, sabotaging what she would have wanted or what we wanted for the center here. But as I was leaving, Erich said, you have to win her respect. Oh wait, was it? You have to win her support. You have to win her support. I'm thinking I've been supporting her for, for at the center here for years and years. Win her support. What the heck? I pondered that for a couple of years. What does he mean by win her? I'm supporting her. What does that mean to win her support? And so one day I was walking by Baba's house, and this thought came to me that I would never let her down as a human being. I mean, even though I had difficulties with her personality, I would never let her down as a human being, as a person. Instantly, I got a message from no sooner did that thought occur, then I got a message to call Jane Haynes. I mean, I'm thinking, whoa, what? But and that kind of confirmed that I finally got it. I had won her support. I could have let her down. There was something in me that could have let her down. But when I determined never to let her down humanly, I finally got her support. And she had the highest regard for me the rest of her life, which only lasted a few more years. But she had implicit faith in me because I finally reached that place where she could have implicit faith in me. So that's a loving, that is about loving someone else, that you will not humanly let them down, even though you would like to, or you'd like to set the record straight, or expose their hypocrisy or whatever. There's just something there honoring that, that humanness, the fragility, that humanness, and not to harm her in any way. So that's one aspect of the large love as opposed to the small love, the lowercase love, I guess.
Thank you, Jeff.
I don't know if that, I don't know if that was understandable, but
Yeah, it absolutely was. It really was. Actually, it kind of not on the same level, but it triggered something in me of a bit of an understanding of, so I'm at a different phase of my life than most of you guys. And Jeff and I just had a meeting talking about, how when you go through your life with Baba, my problems with Baba are different than your problems with Baba because they're all in different phases. And so mine is coming a lot through relationships and like daily activity. And so much growth is like coming from unpacking this relationship. And I have been feeling like, man, maybe we didn't even love each other. Maybe this was all just us, trying to get something from one another. And as Jeff was saying that, I remembered 2 moments in our relationship with this, my ex, where I was like, no, you know what? I can walk away as this being, and in the time it was my least favorite moment of the relationship. But now I can like look at this relationship and know that there was love there that always exists. And I don't have to hold on to all the moments of we did this or we did that. But there were 2 moments that I remember. There was one time, and maybe I'm just sharing this, maybe, hopefully somebody can resonate to it. I don't know if it makes sense, but I was so pissed off at him. I don't know what I was mad about. It was probably something. He probably didn't do the dishes, something like that. And we had a treadmill in our house. So I was just on the treadmill, like working out. And I get a text from him and he was like, can you help me? And I was thinking, I'm not going to help you. Like, I'm mad. You're not asking me why I'm mad. Like, how can you ask for my help right now? And so I was like, I kind of swallow my stuff and he's like, okay, he's asking for help. I come out into the living room and it's really hot in Arizona. It gets to 1:15 in the summertime. And he had just been on a mountain bike ride and he was laying on the floor, like kind of going in and out of consciousness because he got overheated. And I looked at him and I was so mad. I was mad at him for having this issue right now because it overrode my being mad. I was like, I can't even be mad right now because you're having this problem. And I just took a deep breath and I helped him get up and turned on the shower for him. And he was a really big guy. So I was like holding him up. He's like kind of wobbling back and forth. And I have so much admiration for this moment now because this was the proof that there was real love in that relationship.
beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just at that point, it was over. The anger was over because the love overrode it.
Beautiful. Wow. This is the kind of love that Baba awakens in us. Just, beyond what we'd normally be experiencing.
Yeah. Something else that Jeff, you said to me when I was probably, I don't know, I might have been like 15, and you said it to me and it just kind of has vibrated for many years, but then I experienced it I don't know for the first time, but consciously, for the first time this last use of Havas when I was a counselor. And you told me one time, you're like, there's a place where you can exist where you have limitless energy. And to me, when you told me at 14, I was like, always have limitless energy. I don't know what Jeff's talking about. But you told me you were like, there's a state you can exist in where there is limitless energy. And at the Usahavas, I was, when you're a counselor, you don't sleep. You might get 3 hours sleep and you're going and you are on the whole time. And I'm somebody who needs a lot of sleep. So I was talking to Baba about honestly, like how stressed out I was about not being able to be on for my campers the whole time. And I just told Baba, I said, can you help me get to that place? Like, I'm going to go through trying to just show up for these campers and hold this space. And I realized that of course, when I walked away from my campers, I was exhausted. I couldn't even open my eyes. I couldn't move my body. But when I was with my campers, it was this love flowing through me where there was no exhaustion. There was no sense of Margi and what is she getting from this? And I realized I finally understood what Jeff told me at 14. So it was like 10 years later. of this place where love exists. There's no energy, or it doesn't take anything to give. It just, you're out of the way and it's flowing through you. It's kind of, you know, when you're doing service, we have this idea that, oh, you can't fill other people's cup till your cup is filled. That's so foolish, because that's limiting the wine that's in the cup. With Baba, it's just like this continuous waterfall. It's like one of those waterfalls that takes the water from the bottom and brings it back up. There's no limit to it. It just flows through. There's no cup.
I just wanted, somebody once said, shared a thought with Terry and me, people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Mm.
And that has really resonated with me. I thought of that when you were talking.
You know, another thing that happened this past week that was so interesting is two friends of ours came to visit us, and we haven't seen them in a long time. They, one of them has two sons, and they raised their children years ago. And, but when Hannah came, you know, it was like, it was a full-time gig, and we were working, and we had a lot going on, and my father-in-law, and it was just so much. And so we didn't see them when they lived not that far. I mean, it was still like 45 minutes, but it wasn't. And we weren't that social either. And they came from, then they moved to Oregon, and they came down, and they think it's their last trip because one of them has Parkinson's disease. And when they walked through the door, you could feel it, couldn't you? The love. It was just so intense. We talked about it, like how when you're in someone's heart, even if you don't see each other for a long time, when you come together, it's an amazing feeling. It's just, I don't know. The house was so, it felt literally like the house was beating, you know, like a heart.
It was glowing.
Glowing.
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's like what Diane says. I mean, Zoom to human even. It's
Mhm.
like, you know, how are you going to love this person that you just see a little tiny screen of them, but somehow that love exists on a plane that doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, and when you do Zoom in, when you go from Zoom to human,
Oh man.
and the feelings are right there.
I mean, you hug and you can, you know, your heart is, I mean, it's really, it's real. And it's, I mean, we got the best hugs when we were in Mariana. I can't even believe it. I mean, we were really holding each other. It was more than a hug. And it's amazing to have that with people that you just know through a little screen.
Because we're talking so authentically. We're all, there's no BS here. And there's not been a disappointment in one connection. Well, Jeff was a little, but you know.
I'm working on
being a little more loving.
Cantankerousness.
I have to talk about Jeff in therapy. I mean, I thought he was this nice guy, and then all of a sudden I get to the center, he's putting pine cones in my pillow. He put coffee grounds in the back of my toilet, puts cellophane on my toilet seat. I don't know if you guys know that, maybe a lot of you guys do. But so what Jeff used to do when all of us kids would come, like Addie and Eva, or my sister and I, or any of us kids would come to the center, the cabin was like a booby trap. So you would lay on your pillowcase at night. You're so excited to go to the center. You lay on your pillowcase and he fills it with pine cones, right? And then you get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and you go to sit down on the toilet and you start to pee, and it's just splashing everywhere because he puts cellophane over the toilet seat. And then you're going, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I can't do this. And then you flush the toilet.
The bed?
What?
Does he French the bed?
What does that mean?
You make the sheets halfway. So when
you,
I'm not going to give him ideas.
No, don't give him any ideas. But
I
then
know
the worst
that.
part is after he cellophanes the toilet, you go to flush the toilet and he fills the back of it with coffee grounds. So all this brown, dirty water comes up and fills the toilet. So here I was thinking that Jeff was just this sweet old man. And now I've got to talk about it in therapy, how he traumatized me. No, I'm kidding.
No, what happens? Otherwise, these young people fall asleep if you don't do these things. know? They're like it's the only way you can get them off of their gadgets.
Even when I worked at the center, I can't tell you the amount of times that I'd get home from like a day working or whatever, and I'd open up my purse and there would be bars of soap that Jeff would throw in my
Used bars of soap.
yeah, used sticky and like Myrtle Beach, humidity, like sticky wet bars of soap. But Tony, you had your hand up. Did you want to share?
Do I remember what it was? I took my hand down because this whole conversation was so much fun. A story about love. I was in this Baba group, but a sociopath was at the head of it, and I finally got out, and it was a horrible thing. And a year later, I had a chance to go to India for Amar Tithi Baba's birthday. And in the middle of that stay, the group, which always came for Amar Tithi, was there for 2 weeks and completely shunning me. So we'd be sitting like on the bench together, maybe next to me, next to one young woman who you might know even now. But and Arnava says to her, "But don't you know Tony?" and things like that. And at one point we were going into Mondley. We were all going into Mondley Hall, and they were there, and there was only one place to sit for me. It was close to Erich, and it was next to a fellow named Jose Enriquez, who was in the group. Sweet man. And, he adjusted himself for me to sit down. We kind of nodded at each other. And I sensed Erich's attention. And as soon as everyone was settled, he said, once love exists between two people, it never goes away. And he was clearly talking about my friend, And in my experience in particularly romantic love, anyone that I've been involved or almost been involved, if the love was once there, it's still here now. I don't feel something different to those people. They've become a part of me. Love is oneness, and so a part of me is each. To all the girls I've loved before, but it's love is one. I mean, love is the only thing. We limit it to certain situations, but if there's love in any situation, it's good. And if love is blocked or held back, it's not so good. So it's like love is the thing. And the little L love is the big L love. There's no two loves. And finally, the other thing that I thought I'd share, because it was just a revelation to me today from Baba, about how Baba, you say, can make things difficult or stuff that's hard. I've shared that when the Beatles came out, I was crazy about them, but I also was very confident, and I was certain that I decided I was going to be the next Beatles. Not them, but do what they had done. Because if they could do it, I could do it. And I really developed it, and I had a group and another group, and then by 1966 we had a manager. Well, the next door neighbor were in showbiz, and they had a party for us. We did our songs, my songs, and he was going to put us in a club in Greenwich Village. I was on my way, and I blamed the drummer's father, but it wasn't the drummer's father, I realized today, for saying, I won't let my son play in some like decadent club in Greenwich Village with all those beatniks and Today, my wife is listening to a biography of Jimi Hendrix, and she said, I think you'd like to hear this. And it was about Greenwich Village and Jimi Hendrix and Richie Havens in 1966. And at the time that I would have been there, my determination had lifted us to the point where we were going to be working there. Something came in and shot it down and put me in a horrible math high school. I saw for the first time today and without any anger on my part, that this was directly Baba's doing. I had already asked him to make, as Jesus, make an accommodation with something I had seen in my chart that was coming, you know. But I didn't realize, and he did. That's my story. That's what's in my book. But I didn't realize that it also meant saying, okay, well, this was your plan, but we're changing things now. I'm taking you someplace else. Because I would have been there. I'd listened to the story of Jimmy in the Cafe Wa, and it was like I was emotionally I was there, but it never happened because Baba stepped in and said no. And that's a wonderful. Actually, it's a big act of love. I didn't take it as an act of love at the time, but realizing it just today. Um, when Baba does that, and whenever he's done it in my life that I was aware of at the time, it's always been an act of love, even if it hurt like hell. You look back and say, "Wow, where would I? I would not be where I am now, who I am now, if he had not intervened in what seemed like a cruel way." Yeah. Okay. Jay Baba.
Just what you just said triggered a memory that I have of Laurent telling me, Laurent Weichberger saying, when, I don't know if you guys know the story of him and Vanessa and how they kind of got together, but they were very much like in love through like writing back and forth, and they would see each other in India, et cetera, when they were younger. And he went to Lagoon Cabin and asked Baba if he could marry her. And he said to Baba inwardly, "But I'm afraid." And he said that he felt Baba inwardly put his finger up and say, "Never be afraid to love."
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And never block love if it's coming, even if it's impossible and it makes no sense. If love is coming through, express it. Express tactfully, express wisely, but never block love. Never block love. Yeah.
You know,
Go
There
ahead.
might have been a little in there that I can't explain.
Go ahead, Jeff.
and this is kind of partially related to what we're talking about. There was one lady who her name was Anita Putalik. I think she was from Wisconsin, and she had lived in New York City and been part of the Monday night group there back in the 50s. But she was devoted to Jesus. And then she went back to Wisconsin. She got married and all that. And then when Bob was coming in 1956, they contacted her, the Monday night group contacted her saying that Bob was coming. So she convinced her husband, even though she was pregnant, convinced her that, that she wanted to go see Bob. So she came to New York, and she was I don't know if it was the very first interview of that Bob was visiting in New York, or the very first visit on that day, the very first interview. But so she goes in, first Adi is with Baba, and Baba kind of makes this gesture, kind of like this. He makes a gesture like that. And so he goes out there, he's looking for someone who's overweight to be the first person to come in and see Baba. He doesn't see anybody that really fits that description out in the waiting room. So he goes back in, and Baba indicates, he realizes it's someone pregnant. So he goes out there and he asks, "Is there someone that's pregnant?" And Baba wants you to come in. And so this was Anita Putalik. So she has the first interview. And so she comes in, and she expresses her longing for Jesus. She's devoted to Jesus. She's a Christian. And Baba, graciously acknowledges her sentiments but then this is what Baba said to her. I mean, this is her first meeting with Baba, and he says, acknowledging her love for Jesus, he says, but you have made one big mistake in your spiritual life. You have put God in heaven, and until you find him in everyone you meet, your religion will always be lopsided. What a line. You have made one big mistake in your spiritual life. You have put God in heaven, and until you find him in everyone you meet, your religion will always be lopsided. And that became the theme of her life. And when you were with her, it was just you and her. I mean, she was like being with Kitty. They were so one-pointed focus that she was seeing the Baba in you. And that became her whole life. And she was like a spiritual counselor in the, but I just happened to get her interview just there in the refectory. It's not, she never wrote anything, but I got that, at least I got that out of her. So that's the loving with the big L, and not just loving others, but loving Baba in others.
Jeff, is she still alive?
No,
Oh.
no, she would have been born in 1935. So she would be up there in the dizzy heights.
That's how old you are, Jeff, right?
Yeah. I don't tell anybody, but I'm 97 and I feel really pretty good. As long as I take my Geritol, I'm alive and everything. It's all medication now that keeps me going.
You're like a bucket of formaldehyde.
I've seen those pictures of you hanging out with Dick Van Dyke,
Yeah.
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 You guys
You can
tested
go up
together.
to 125 like Hazrat Babajan.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, I think that's a really good place to close it up. So, I mean, I don't know, Peter and I are going to talk about it, but I kind of like the spontaneous conversation. Do we have nods? Do we have no's?
I agree. I like it too. I vote for spontaneity sometimes. This is fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll try that. We don't have to be just like Jeff. I was trying to send out emails like Jeff does, but maybe it gives a little bit more flexibility in the conversation if I just come up with a topic on the spot. So this accident has become a beautiful thing.
Although I do have to tell you, I have enjoyed you taking a topic and then fleshing it out. So by the end of the email, we've had like an hour therapy with you. And I like that a lot because you think things out so thoughtfully. So that's wonderful. So, maybe
You
be
can go
hybrid.
both ways.
Yeah.
We'll go back and forth. We'll go back and forth.
AC/DC, yeah.
Yeah. Jeff and I both have that Mercury in Capricorn, so we like to
Really?
break down our thoughts. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it for tonight. This was I really liked this topic, and thanks for everybody who shared. I feel like it got very personal, which I always prefer. I don't really like when it stays on surface level. I like when we go into a trance. All right, well, let's unmute and we'll do 3 Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jays, and then